But to your point, he sounds just like a globalist.
What are we going to do with those guys that we captured? What laws apply to them? Where are they going?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know, and I'm not sure that I care all that much.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to yesterday's news channel, where we watch CNN so you don't have to. Scott Jennings joined NewsNight with Abby Phillip and, once again, stayed calm while the panel spiraled. In the first clip, Abby Phillip says Trump's pardon of George Santos proves the whole pardon power is misused, so we should just scrap the whole thing. Then in the second clip, they call him a globalist for sanctioning Venezuela's narco-state. Two topics, same pattern. If Trump does it, CNN calls it a scandal. Anyway, let's watch Scott Jennings destroy this liberal panel and expose exactly who the real globalists are. Let's go.
Yeah, to me, I take a pretty basic view of it. I mean, somebody has to be, to me, the final arbiter on some big decisions. There is a process in the Department of Justice usually, but that are recommendations that are made.
Yeah, but it's not being used.
Right.
Clearly, the process is not being used. The process wasn't used for Joe Biden's practically his entire family. The process was not used for all of the January 6th defendants who just got a writ of clemency from this president. I mean, what process? That process, it doesn't seem, I know it exists, but that process
it doesn't seem to make sense to me to leave it up to a commission. I mean, he's the president of the United States. He's the chief executive of this country. I mean, to me, there has to be a final arbiter on some of these things.
I agree with Ashley somewhat on this. I just think the idea that a president could right some wrongs, having that power vested in one person, and I do think the process does produce results sometimes. And I also think citizens and other people and members of Congress come forward with ideas. You know, some of the criminal justice things Trump did in the first term. So ideas do bubble up. The idea that someone could show mercy on people who deserve it, right wrongs, set things straight. I do like the idea that that can happen just like that. Now, does that mean everyone's going to be perfect? No. But the idea that that power sits there, I kind of like it, to be honest.
And one of the big common denominators between many of them is that the people were prosecuted by people who prosecuted him. What kind of decision-making process is that? I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
I think you're making a valid point, and I think the point that Scott and I surprisingly agree on is that it has a purpose. It's like the ultimate opportunity for like earthly redemption almost, but it is being misused. And I'm not just saying by Trump. I think it has been misused on both sides.
I think every president has made some questionable decisions on this, but you could probably also look at every president and say, they made some great decisions that they probably feel good about, but it's all on the president.
Well,
they're the final arbiter.
He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to fuck around with the United States.
I mean, Trump and a lot of his base, Trump ran in 2016. I was there against being involved in foreign wars. He just went to the Middle East this spring and said regime change has been a policy that failed in that region. So why is he seemingly engaging in that same kind of policy now and then not going to Congress and asking for authorization?
Legitimate question. I think Venezuela is a different kind of country. It's not really a real country. It's a narco-terrorist state. In his first term, he unleashed economic sanctions on them. We put a bounty on Maduro. I mean, we did all the things short of going to war with Venezuela to stop them from importing drugs into the United States. It did not work. They have continued to be a narco-terrorist state. They continue to flood drugs into the United States and dangerous people. And so one of the things about the America First movement and the MAGA movement is in middle America, they believe our government has not taken a hard enough line against people who have put deadly drugs into this country. They promised this. And honestly, I think he's going to have a lot of political support for stopping these narco-terrorists.
Look, I do think that it's politically convenient to lay at the feet of Venezuela the drug problem that we have in this country, but it also is not aligned with the facts. According to the United States' own, assessments, Mexico-based transnational criminal organizations are primarily responsible for the supply of illicit drugs, including fentanyl, to the U.S. market.
They're going to keep talking about Venezuela, so I'll cover that in the next clip. So George Santos, I don't care about George Santos. I mean, he gets a pardon, and suddenly Abby wants to rewrite the Constitution. She's acting like the presidential pardon itself is corrupt because she doesn't approve of how it was used. But that's the point of leadership. Someone has to make the final call. In this country, we're lucky enough to choose who the person is. Has every president made perfect choices? Of course not. Should Joe Biden have pardoned his criminal son and his entire family? No. Has Trump pardoned some people that have made me go, yeah. Do I care? No. Is it annoying when people have conversations with themselves on camera? Yeah. But that's the system. You're seeing both mercy and judgment at the very top. I think the real difference here is attitude. I see it as some decisions are above my pay grade. Abby sees it as, if she doesn't like it, the rule must be broken. That is the perfect embodiment of media narcissism. But I really like what Scott said. He said he likes that there's an ultimate get out of jail free card because real stories of redemption have come from that. And he's right. Sometimes justice includes mercy. Back to it.
Not really a player in fentanyl, which is the predominant killer of Americans in terms of drugs. But what is a problem is that Venezuela is a failed state that is run by a dictator. And if the agenda is to regime change and to get rid of a dictator, I'm sure there are many Americans, Democrat and Republican, who support Maduro going bye-bye. But that should be what Trump says, not blaming it on drug trafficking, which is a relatively minor issue compared to drug trafficking that comes from Mexico.
Well, how much do you want to accept? I think you're downplaying.
I know, and it's not a how much do you want to accept.
I think you're downplaying.
Where is the problem coming from? And it's coming from Mexico.
I think you're downplaying what they do in Venezuela, A. B.
I'm not downplaying it. It's just factually less significant than what is happening in Mexico.
B. I would support military strikes on drug operations in Mexico, to be honest with you, and I think a lot of Americans would as well.
My bigger point, Scott, is that this doesn't seem to really be about the drugs. I think it's about Maduro. And if it's about Maduro, don't you think Americans ought to know
they're one
that?
And the same. He is a drug lord.
Don't you think Americans ought to know that if that's the agenda, regime change, that that's what they're doing?
Politician after the next sold you out. The globalists have been wrong about everything. The big globalists have been ripping off the United States. We're going to get the warmongers and the globalists out of our government.
Does that even have meaning anymore? Did it ever? I don't know.
I don't think so. You know, I ran a lot of campaigns against Donald Trump, but to my Republican friends' points, he's not talking about it in the way now that he did then, and he's wrapping this thing in drugs and narcos, which anybody would say, no, we don't want drugs. We don't care if narcos get killed. Even Democrats don't care as long as there's some kind of process and not innocent people getting killed. But to your point, he sounds just like a globalist.
What are we going to do with those guys that we captured? What laws apply to them? Where are they going?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know. And I'm not sure that I care all that much. I'll tell you something else about Venezuela. There's an opposition party there. There are people that could probably take over Venezuela and not be a major narco-terrorist state. So
they probably would have to take to the streets and protest.
They're in our own. I wouldn't if I were them with Maduro in charge.
That's what
they're in our own hemisphere.
Yeah,
they're sending drugs.
Sounds like you're making a globalist argument, Scott.
Well,
we know that there are.
I have no opposition to using the U.S. military to stopping terrorists from putting substances in our country that kill our citizens. If it was Al Qaeda, I'd say the same thing.
We know that there are, but to Ashley's point, are they hiding the ball here about what they really want to do? That's really the question. And I think that a lot of MAGA people ought to be asking that, since they voted against presidents who would engage the United States in more foreign wars.
It's not in Donald Trump's nature to hide the ball. If he's going to do something, he tells the American public what he's going to do. He does 1 million press conferences a week. So I take him at his word for where he is right now. But it's not against the MAGA movement to step in and say, these issues affect our country. That doesn't make him a globalist. If we need to get a peace deal and get hostages back, that doesn't make him a globalist.
I think you could argue that it does, according to their own definition, make you a globalist. Everything affects us. That's been the argument.
Trump is no isolationist. He never has been. He's always been willing to engage if he thought it was in America's best interest. With a drug state like this, I think it might.
So CNN's branding Trump as a globalist for hitting Venezuela's narco state with sanctions. That's the headline logic. Take a crackdown on cartels and call it empire building. Then Abby cites that article saying most fentanyl comes through Mexico, so Venezuela isn't a big player in the drug trade. What? The DEA and DOJ have indicted Maduro and his generals for shipping hundreds of tons of cocaine through the Cartel de los Soles. That's not a rumor. It's the business model keeping his regime alive. CNN's move is the same on every single issue. Here's what it is. Well, something worse exists somewhere else, so why fix this problem? Someone's wrongly detained? Stop stopping crime. Deportation error? Stop enforcing the law. You all know what this is. It's just nonsense designed to stall action. Then Abby throws out, well, what if it's a regime change? According to who? Her? Venezuela's barely a real nation anymore. Maduro's a cartel boss with a flag. Trump's cutting off his cash flow. That's law enforcement, not globalism. Think about this. In the span of about 10 to 20 minutes, CNN managed to claim Trump was too merciful and too aggressive. That's what happens when feelings and outrage and emotion replace logic. Scott's a better man than me because he handles it perfectly. He stays calm, factual, unbothered, and every time he's there, he proves that composure beats chaos every time. What do you guys think? Does CNN twist itself in knots just to stay outraged? Or are they genuinely confused about what the hell's going on? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, that's it for this video. No announcements today. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to watch my video. I really, really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. Always put God first. See you guys.